Hey guys, so today we're talking about luxury watches versus fashion watches.
All right, guys, so we've been on the fashion forums, Reddit, all that, and fashion watches get such a bad rep, and we are here to defend the fashion watches today.
Yes, we are.
Yes, but it's not that we don't appreciate, the quality craftsmanship and design and everything that goes into a luxury watch. It's a beautiful thing. It's a work of art. That is, why it's so valuable and amazing. Trust me, if we could afford all luxury watches, we would, but we can't, and most people can't as well. So, a watch is about style, and fashion watches can do just that.
Yeah, I think originally, for those of the guys who like myself, who couldn't afford to have, a heritage luxury watch.
What are you saying, like a Rolex wasn't your first watch?
Well, Rolex wasn't, Omega wasn't my second, Tag Heuer wasn't my third. It was Daniel Wellington, it was Timex, it was Jack Mason. It was a lot of these fashion brands that allowed me to still have a watch with some style, I think in the 70s and the 60s, you heard a lot of negative about like the quartz watches and yeah, maybe they were ugly, but in the 2015 or so, a lot of these fashion watches became really popular, trendy, and like quite frankly put, they were like pretty awesome,
Right.
They were actually competing with these luxury watches in terms of style, not heritage, but only style.
So after our trip to Switzerland, when we went to Longines headquarters and museum, I understood why people needed a timepiece that created such precise time. Because it was made for pilots and captains of ships, and if you were off by a second or two here or there, you were off by 30 miles in one direction and you're going to get lost. So I completely understand why.
It was also pre-iPhone, pre-digital,
pre-GPS, pre-everything, and I completely understand why that was necessary and like the need for precision timepieces, and I appreciate the heritage. But now I can look in my pocket and my iPhone tells me better time than any watch ever. So, I mean, that aspect of it is kind of lost with the digital age. And now all you need is, it's about how it looks on your wrist and how it makes you feel. So if it looks good to you and you feel good wearing it, you don't know how many compliments I've gotten on an MVMT, on a Vincero, on a Jack Mason watch that people are like, oh my God, that watch looks amazing. I'm like,
you're right.
thank you. I'm not like, oh, it was only $200, like I'm like, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, same here, dude. I wear like my $100 watches or even my $15 Timex. People go, oh, I love the band.
Yeah. It's like a NATO strap or something.
And it's just a band that I bought on eBay.
And let's be honest, the majority of people are not watch connoisseurs.
No.
So like, even like you're looking at this $1,000 Omega versus this $200 Daniel Wellington. 9 times out of 10, I would say, not 9 times out of 10, but it's going to be 50-50 on, which one they like better.
No,
If they didn't know the difference, like, I would look at this one and be like, is this for a baby? Because it has such a small face.
Yeah.
And my wrist is huge. But
the biggest difference I have to say is the heritage. I think watches in general now are mostly a styling piece, and it's like an accessory versus a timepiece.
Right.
So many of the luxury watches they have jewels and gold, white gold. They have a movement that's patented by a certain brand. That's what makes the value go up.
Think of it this way, guys. Like, if you're into like your favorite artist, say like Salvador Dali, right? And you buy a poster on the wall. It still looks like the real thing. It's just it's not the one that he handcrafted and painted himself, but it's still a piece of his art, and it's inspired by, at least, which is how I like a lot of fashion watches are inspired by luxury watches. Like, you see a diver watch, it looks like a Rolex.
Right.
You see these minimalist faces, which are inspired by other certain luxury watch brands. It's great to pay that homage to the actual artist or the actual brand by kind of showing this is the style you like. And I know when I first started buying watches, I was like, I know what I want, and they were a couple $1,000s, but I'm gonna wait until there's a milestone in my life. I make 100K for the first time, or I graduate college, or something important. I think it's a milestone marker. It's a great gift as like of an accomplishment.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, because I got my first Rolex when I hit a personal accomplishment that I did with work, you know, and it was like George said, it was a milestone. It was something that, you know, it brought joy. It brought like just like a celebration. But there's also the watches that are like Hamilton, Shinola, even Oris, that are doing watches from $500 to $2,000. So it's not outrageously priced,
Right.
And it's a great starter watch into the luxury game.
Even like Martinero and Weiss watches, they're doing automatic timepieces.
Oh, dude, Weiss makes a killer
for
watch. Yeah.
under $1,000. It's a beautiful thing. But like that's another thing is the automatic movement that important to you? It's a beautiful watch, yeah.
Yeah,
but like,
you're right.
if it was the same face and it was a quartz movement, would it look any different? It wouldn't.
You're right.
You know,
You're right.
that's the other debate. You know, is you know, because you know what's behind it, it looks better on your wrist to you, and that's a personal thing that you gotta fight with yourself
You're
about.
right. Yeah, I think that's an old mentality. I think if you're young, you're stylish. I think if you're fashionable, you should be able to wear any watch and feel confident. You know, I wear a Beyonce watch and I feel just as confident as if I'm wearing a Rolex. Or I wear my Larson Jennings just as confident as if I'm wearing my Omega.
Right. Same.
Right?
I mean, same as if I'm wearing like jewelry from like Vitality Design, which is like, you know, $50 fashion jewelry, or like if it was actually 24 karat gold and you know, had real diamonds on it. Like I don't know. I think fashion is all about attitude anyway. So if you wear it with confidence and you have, you know, that vibe about you, it's still gonna look good. There's no rule that like expensive makes you cooler or more stylish. It's just, you know, I feel like you kind of pick a watch brand and you learn about that watch brand, and that's why you get into it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Which brings you to my next question. What is your top 2 favorite fashion watches and your top 2 luxury watches?
Top 2 fashion watches would have to be MVMT and Jack Mason.
So MVMT and Jack Mason.
Yes.
Nice. That's a good choice.
Now, luxury watches, it's hard to narrow it down to 2. But after going to Switzerland, I think Longines is definitely on that list. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Zenith watches, but that's probably top 2.
Yeah.
The top 10 list is very...
Oh, that's a good one. Top 10.
That's another video.
Another video coming, top 10 fashion watches, top 10 luxury watches. But for this video, these are your top 2.
Top 2. All right, you're up.
All right, so my top 2 fashion watches would be, I think, Timex is like one. I mean, it's a classic, dude. Timex is, you know, they've been around forever, dude, and they were actually my first watch. So Timex. And the next one would be, you know what? I really like. I'm gonna go with Larson Jennings.
Okay.
You know, I originally had another one planned, but I think Larson Jennings is doing a really cool watch. They're affordable still, really cool. Now my top 2 luxury watches, which I feel every luxury watch has to, or should come from Switzerland, which makes it Swiss made. Let's go with Carl F. Bucher. He's doing an amazing watch based out of Lucerne. I love their watches right now, and they're killing it. And my second watch would have to be, I think, you know what? I think it had to be Omega. I think Omega's doing a killer thing right now. I love their vintage watches. I think their vintage watches get me. But I'm a huge fan of Rolex.
Because they fit your tiny wrist?
Yeah, dude, look at my wrist is small, bro. I mean, I even got the 38 millimeter in the Apple Watch. Tiny, I got the girl one.
Yeah, do they make a 52?
They make a 42. It's not 2001, bro.
Dude, I got these wrists, man. These wrists.
You're all biceps and forearms.
This is how this looks on Blake's wrist.
Wow, dude. Especially your right one.
Oh, talking a lot of shit today.
Okay.
All right, guys. So, you know, in the end, fashion watches aren't a bad thing. If you like it, it makes you feel good, and you can afford it, go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, also, if you can afford luxury watches, go for that. But, you know, don't be scared because somebody told you don't buy fashion watches because they're not the original and they're no good. Like, if you like it, that's all that matters, guys. We'll have a link to our top favorite fashion watches and our top favorite luxury watches below, so you guys can kind of take a look at what we're looking at and what we like. Comment your favorites below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and thanks guys.
Thanks.